Welcome back, professors. In this final tutorial, we are going to look at the calendar, roster, gradebook, attendance, and reporting features. None of these are very difficult, pretty straightforward, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on them, but I do want to introduce you to some of the features if you're not aware of them yet. So here in the calendar, real simply, you just see everything that you have planned in terms of lectures and assignments, things that you've done in the past, things that you have planned. Of course, if you click through here, you're going to see everything else that you have planned for assignments. At the very least, if you haven't set anything up, you'll see that your course is on the calendar, on the schedule. You can add events manually. You can also use the settings to set up alerts before when assignments are due. Next is the roster. You can click on the roster. You see all the students here. You can sort them according to their status. If they have any auditors, you can look just at the auditors here. In this case, we only have enrolled students, so that's what we're looking at. You click into each student individually, and you can see how they're doing in terms of their individual assignment performance, also their attendance, how they're doing here. As we'll talk about in a moment, we want you to keep attendance on a regular basis. So, but when you do that, you're able to see how they're doing in terms of their attendance. You can look at how they're doing on their assignments. Here, Richard's only spending less than a minute on the assignments, or on the lessons rather, because he is going into each lecture to download the lecture notes, and that's why you see this as only reading less than 1 minute. It's not as though he's only spending a minute on the lesson. He's just going into that particular feature on Populi to download the lecture notes. And then here you can see if you have set up discussions or having student partake in discussions, and you can see how they're engaging here. So that is the roster. Now before we leave the roster, I want you to also see this feature here. You can take notes about each individual student, and we want you to do everything as it pertains to the class in Populi. If it has something to do with the class, use Populi to record it, to assign it, whatever it is. Rather than taking notes on a student in a separate Word document, say, you can take those notes here. Say if Richard needs to miss a class for some reason, you can take those notes here. If he has certain questions that he would like to talk to you about after class or after the course is over, you can write them down here. Whatever notes that you think are useful and pertain to the class, and you can take them here, and we just encourage you to do that. So everything, all of your information, all the work that you're doing as it pertains to the classes can all be found here in Populi, and that's for your organizational advantage and also for the students' advantage as well. Now these notes only you can see. The students cannot see those notes. This is for your personal use only. Now another thing here is you can click over here on this Actions tab and email the selected students, or you can email or text the entire section. You can export the roster and so on. So say you want to email this section, it's going to take you right over to this email platform. You can add the subject and send the email. So it's making it easy for you to communicate with your students. Next is the gradebook. Here is what the students will see their individual grade as they make progress through the class. They're able to click into their Populi account and see how they're doing, so long as you are updating the grade for the assignments, the grades for the assignments. Important, once you've completed the course and all the grades are in and they've been finalized, then please finalize the course. No longer are you turning your grades into the academic dean or the registrar. You are putting your grades in Populi, and then at the end of the quarter, the academic dean, I will go through and recheck all the classes, then I will finalize it on my end, and we will make sure that everything is in place. But this is where you will record the grades, no longer submitting them to the administration, rather you are putting them here in Populi, and we trust that will save you some time and some headache. Next is attendance. We ask you to please take attendance every class. You simply click into this to the day that you need, and you can actually go back, if you haven't done it, you can go back and retroactively add your attendance, and so we ask that you would please do that. That's going to be important for reporting purposes from our end. But all you do is you just click whether they're present or absent, and you save. I've already saved it, so I'm just going to hit cancel. But make sure you hit save, and that will record it. 4 were present, 3 were present, and 1 was absent there, as you can see. And speaking of reporting, you can also do some of your own reporting, you can look to see how grades have been, how students are doing as it pertains to their individual grades, and how that is reflected on the class as a whole. So here you can see, and this is the assignments. This half of the class is 50% of the class and has, or 50% of the assignments have received an A, and then 2 have received a B, 3 have received a C, and 1 has received an F. And those are all just the quizzes that we've taken so far. But that will show up here, so you can see how the class is doing as a whole and just evaluate things from your end. You can also see where students are spending their time and where they're spending their time on Populi. And then this evaluation you don't have to worry about. And then this change log here, it just shows you all the changes that you've made in Populi. All of them everything that you've done in Populi as it pertains to this particular class will show up here on this change log, so you can look back to see what you've done. Don't need to worry about the chat feature. We're not going to be using that. And I believe the settings feature is just for me, for my administrative purposes. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and if you haven't watched all of the tutorials, I encourage you to do so, and I encourage you to get into Populi, learn all of its various features. It's really going to enhance your communication with the students and your overall teaching experience.